fancy going to have a pint? I said, yeah, we're going to have a pint.
Hello, Jem.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. It's nice to see you, man. Very nice.
I'm looking. I've just you know, these days you get a spot. It's just of all the times. So I'm sorry about
So, congratulations on the new Frost album.
Thank you very much.
Very nice. Very nice. Continuation of what the progression really. I was kind of a bit of a late period Police vibe from it, sort of that sort of feel, and
yeah. We kind of. I think I sent to John the other week actually because we've been doing a bit more writing since then for the new album. And so we did say, I said to him, we really can't do that again. We'll have to back out of that avenue. And he agreed. So there's only so much Police you can do. So we've always been sort of hugely influenced by them, but I think even now, we can't do that again. So I have to think of something else.
I don't think it really sounds like the Police, but it's got that kind of that brave, trying out new things sort of thing. Especially like the real late Police stuff. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely still got the sort of strong melodies and stuff. I was looking at the cover, and I just realised that's Carl Glover on there, isn't it?
It is. It's fine, Carl Glover's. Yeah,
he's a lovely man, Carl, isn't he?
He does all his own stunts. It's brilliant.
No,
I've got. I don't know whether I can ever share it, but he sent me the original, and it's amazing because it's basically him on Blackheath on the common there with this great big megaphone which he'd borrowed from a mate at a prop shop. And there's people picnicking behind him, and people. It's brilliant. The original picture is so funny, but he braved it out, and I think it's iconic. It's brilliant.
He's a lovely guy, Carl. Really nice fellow. Yeah,
he's lovely. Yeah.
It's weird because I remember when sort of I got back into the world of prog, you guys were sort of already well ahead of the game. Really, you sort of you've been sort of. I think you were after experiencing in Mass Appeals, that kind of era that I discovered you guys, but you were still kind of a new band. But we're not the new bands anymore, are we?
No, we're the old farts now. It's weird, I'm not sure I like it, but
no, I don't like it. There was always the sort of thing where I didn't really know the prog world existed until I sort of did. Someone put me a gig at the Peel, and I sort of went down there. Like, this is whole sort of other world that I didn't know about, but it's cool and they're lovely people and that. Obviously the Peel's not there anymore, but that when I discovered that whole world, I sort of went back and listened to the sort of the scene and stuff. And your albums really stuck out for me because they were just really great records. And like there was lots of contemporary stuff and sort of Cornelius in there and yeah, sort of Cornelius and sort of Jellyfish and Cardiacs and sort of a lot of things. But and then I met Carvus, and then I discovered Cardiacs, and I got into that sort of. So it was all. It was a big period of discovery for me because, like I said, the Neo stuff never really touched me at all. I didn't really know much about it, but then to sort of discover, there was this whole sort of underground scene that was completely under my radar, which is bizarre. But
it's a similar sort of thing because I must have been we're only a couple of years behind you or in front of you rather, but it was just the same. Because I'd been out of it for like 2 decades. Yeah. Same thing. I just bought a load of albums and listened to it, and it was kind of like, it was interesting that in some respects it kind of hadn't moved on very much, I thought. No. And I could just see there was like a huge gap in the market because I had this sort of this philosophy that we see what everyone else is doing and then do the complete opposite of it. So I sort of looked at that and I went, right, well, if I do that, no one's doing that. So that's kind of Frost was sort of informed by what everyone else was doing in a weird sort of way.
But it must have been, because I discovered those 2 records and then went back to them. And, in terms of production, arrangement, ideas and proper songwriting with melodies and interesting chord progressions. Because a lot of prog to me sounds like someone's bought a load of gear and gone, oh, I better make a record now. And it's like the chain of it's kind of the wrong way round. Whereas the inspiration's often somewhat lacking, isn't it? So whereas hearing like your stuff, it's like there's obviously very, very inspired. And then it's like the other stuff comes to him. So do you write from like using experimenting with different bits of equipment? Is that one of the things you use to sort of inspire your writing? Or
weirdly, actually, no. It's kind of a lot of it is. Even now, actually, even after all this time, a lot of it is me with just a piano patch and just playing and going and it's always about melody against chords. And once I've got that working on, once that's all happening, it's kind of then that's the fun bit. Then you start playing with all the toys and find But it really is always just piano and vocal. Really, everything starts that way.
I think that's the core of it. I write an acoustic, and then I add everything, build it up afterwards. Yeah. So, do you like sort of John Barry and things? Because when I listen to the arrangements, so I can hear that sort of. There's so many of those sort of all the minor chords and all that stuff, and I can hear all that in there. And I think that's the root of it. So much of that stuff, you've got to have the idea before the toys come out. The idea's got to be there, hasn't it? You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's, John and I have this thing. Chorus is king. You've got to have. You've got to. We always start with that and tend to work backwards from it. Sorry, all I can see is that spot on my nose. So yeah, it's kind of like it's sort of it kind of.
Wouldn't worry.
As soon as I get off, thanks so much. No, it's because the chorus is their songs. I mean, we have this idea that it doesn't matter if it's 15 minutes long; it's still a song, So
yeah, man, yeah. I think the hooks are really apparent on the new record. So like I said, when I first started, I had Jellyfish and like loads of interesting electronic stuff, and that's what I loved about those Jellyfish records, that they were really out there in terms of the production and the chord progressions, but the hooks were just so solid, weren't they?
Exactly. And we're supposed to be songwriters, aren't we? So that's
kind of the point of it all. So in terms of drums, so you had Pat Mastalotto on drums for some of the tracks. Is he on drums and Waiting for the Lie? Is that Pat?
No, that's Darby.
He's really good.
That's Darby one. That thing. What's brilliant about that is that it's one take. He didn't. There's no editing in that. He played that. He played that because it was. We're getting towards the end of the album and Waiting for the Lie. I couldn't finish it. It kind of gets that bit and it would stop. And I thought I've got to do something about it. So then it's one of those days where I tend to, when I'm working on songs, tend to do a bit and then wander off and do something else, then come back, and then normally it kind of moves things on.
Yeah.
So I had this bit at the end. I was thinking, this is really good. I'm really enjoying this. So I said, I need some drums on it. So I emailed Darby. Went, are you around in the studio? He went, yeah. I said, can you just quickly whack me some drums down? I said, explain what I wanted it to do.
Yeah.
He went, yeah, fine. Half an hour later, how's that? I was like, yeah, that's completely brilliant. And then actually he said, I'll do another one. I can do another one. I'll do a better one. And he came back with two more. And then he emailed back. He went, actually, do you know what? That first one is the one, isn't it? I said, yeah. And that literally was take one. And it's a complete take. And that was Darby. So that's what.
Oh, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Because that's got a sort of Ben Foldsy sort of intro. And he sort of gets those awesome drum part comes. It's like, bloody hell.
Yeah, no, he's a very talented boy.
So, and who's he worked with? How did you find him?
He, weirdly, it's one of those brilliantly sort of random moments. I'm live in Tunbridge Wells currently, and there's a sort of Victorian heart of it where the wells actually are. It's a thing called the Pantiles, which is this sort of boulevard. Is probably the best way to describe it. And there's a bandstand there, and every summer they have jazz gigs on Wednesdays, I think it is.
Right. And
so I was just in town with a mate of mine, and we said, "What's fancy going to have a pint?" I said, "Yeah, we're going to have a pint." And there's bars and stuff all around it, and I had no idea this jazz gig was on. Went down, had a couple of beers, and Darby was in the jazz band playing. And I was chatting away to my mate, and I just sort of, because like that music thing. If you hear someone who's good, you kind of
yeah. Oh, yeah.
It was, and I was chatting away to my mate. I was going, hang on a minute, and then Darby was just playing this stuff, and I was just going, who is that? Because the rest of the band were great. It was, it's sort of slightly sort of fusion-y, but Darby was really at the back, just powering this thing on. And then he got introduced by the band leader saying, "This is Darby's last appearance with us this year because he's off on some prog tour." And of course, I went, "Dink!"
Yeah. So who was the tour? Who was the prog tour?
It was out with Martin Barr.
Oh, cool! From the Toll.
He plays with Martin Barr a lot, and now he's. I mean, obviously, I'm going to say it's because of the strength of what he did with Frost, but I'm sure it isn't. Now he's playing with Devin Townsend as well, so he's like doing stuff with Devin. So he's and he was in Headspace as well.
Right? Yeah. I've done. So he's phenomenal. Who's? Well, I suppose I don't know if you can reveal this top secret information, but who would be the drummer for your tour in April?
I'm not entirely sure yet. We're kind of we're sort of. It's still a bit up in the air. I mean, Darby's up for doing it, so it might be Darby, which is
awesome.
But he's got he's out with Martin again, and I think he's now out with somebody else. He's got like his schedule's filling up, so.
This is the problem. All the good people get really booked up really fast. So, because I've seen you live lots of times, and I'm always like, there's such complicated arrangements to play live. They're so deep. I asked John about this, and I said, "You must rehearse." And I said, "No, we don't really rehearse." I do. And it's like, how the hell do you do it? I mean, do you do lots of personal practice at home for sort of serious amounts of time, and does it work like that?
Yeah, we do rehearse. He's braving that one out.
I mean, you sound unbelievably, especially the last gigs I saw. They're fantastic.
Well, that was we did. What did we do? We rehearsed. Well, the ones we did with the Cruise to the Edge, we actually rehearsed for 5 days at Sweetwood.
Right.
Which was good. So actually, it proved to us that actually, if we do rehearse, we're a lot better.
It's not so much that it's more that you just feel calmer on stage. It creates a better vibe because your muscle memory will take over when because. You know when you do it and you look at it, and
not even that, I could be doing that and go, we do. I mean, we are going to rehearse. There is definitely a sense of. I mean, I don't necessarily enjoy playing live so much, mainly because of that. Because it is like it feels like musically terms, it feels like chasing a herd of sheep across a field sometimes because you're just going stop. It's just all going wrong. So, and it would be lovely to not have to. It's such a panic playing live. So it'd be nice to sort of not have that. So kind of it's kind of a bit of an Achilles heel for us, I think, live. So we're trying to do a bit better on that.
The last, I say every gig, the last few gigs I've seen have been brilliant, man. Really, really amazing. I mean, you seem so much more confident. Every gig I've seen you play, you seem so much more confident.
A lot of that's Nath. Nath gives us confidence because he's so brilliant. He's kind of like, I go, worst comes to worst, I just go, Nath, look at Nath. It's kind of he does calm us all down because he's just such a brilliant musician.
Yeah, so sort of post-COVID, and how do you feel about sort of going back to live performance? Is it because I mean, my concerns are that will people come? Is the first concern because obviously there's it's a different world out there, isn't it? A lot of people are going to be worried. And have you got any sort of worries about it yourself, or how do you feel about it?
Well, interesting. I was supposed to go and see Elbow next week, and I'm not going.
Right.
So that's kind of. That's interesting. I think, maybe I'm probably just being a massive coward about that. But I think it's totally legitimate. I don't think I don't think it's a case. It's a personal. I think we all have to do like a personal risk assessment to work out if it's how we feel about going to these things. Yeah.
Because also, I haven't been in a pub. I think I went in a pub garden once in the last 2 years, and so going to a crowd full of people looks a bit sort of. My mate was saying,
it's people like going, hey, there's a lot of that going on.
So it's going to be a bit weird.
We've got to come. I mean, there's two. I mean, there's two. I've got two. There's two gems in that sort of conversation. One of me is sort of going, I'm not comfortable yet, which is fine. That's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
But then the other side is sort of thinking, we have to get back to some form of normality at some point. So I suppose it'll be interesting. Another winter under our belts would be good to see how we are when now everyone's been sort of vaccinated, or at least is on the way to being vaccinated. It's, if it's not as chaotic as it was last year, that things are on the up.
I mean, I feel exactly the same in that we've got gigs booked for April as well. And we got one in the Netherlands, so it's like the Netherlands completely closed down at the moment. So it's sort of I don't know. I don't know how. I think we'll have to see how we feel a bit closer to the time. But
our tickets went on sale 45 minutes ago. So
brilliant.
Well, it depends. I mean, if no one has bought any, then I think we there's your answer. So we'll see.
No, I mean your gigs sell out. They're always very busy, aren't they?
Well, fingers crossed. Yeah, it's been 5 years since we last played in the UK, which is unbelievable.
But there's been a few events since then, haven't there? I mean, there's been
a couple of. I can't remember what they were.
On the new record, there's some really it's more down-tuned guitars than I've heard before on Frost stuff. Is that railboard thing?
Yes. Yeah, I don't have it here at the moment. A lot of it is because it's a 10-string thing and it goes down to a low C or something, or F. It's vast. So yeah, a lot of what you think is bass or guitar is actually is that, because it's no one ever with the sticks, no one ever or the rail board. What I sort of, whenever you see a stick or a rail board player, that kind of, it's all this, and it's it's this new age stuff. It's all going. No one ever like really sticks them through distortions and stuff. So I've been putting it through. What's it called? That headboard rail board. That effectively thing. And using EBOs and stuff on it, and all kinds of, just really kind of, you can treat it like a guitar. It's brilliant, and it'll scream with the best.
It's very great.
It's kind of, I've been using it, doubling that up with the guitars has been really good.
Did you have to sort of super gate it because it's so low, so it doesn't sort of?
Yeah, it's flabby as hell down there. So yeah, there was a lot of automation going on, but it's kind of like because the strings automatically damp themselves anyway as you take your fingers off.
Oh wow!
But you kind of, it's just, it's a brilliant instrument. This one's made out of aluminium, so it's kind of got this tubular kind of sound.
Oh, it sounds awesome. Yeah. No, I'm not. I haven't heard that before. That's all. Got to work out how that's done.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah, it really sounds massive. Sounds proper. Because I've never heard you do those really low tunings before. So how, we talked about briefly about cardiacs. I know we spoke about cardiacs, well back, and a lot of people who I know in progland or in any sort of music, really, they're quite a big band. Were they a big band for you, Jem?
Massively, yeah. I mean, it's actually my brother. My brother was he discovered them. He actually had the Seaside tape. He was really, really early.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've known it, but just by definition of that, I mean, I've known about them since then. So we did. I wish to God we'd still kept it, but we had the original tape. So
wow,
all those RES and all that, all the original two. I mean, all that really when it was Mark Cawthron on the drums. And really, really early and demo stuff. So yeah, I've known about them forever, and they've always sort of just been a massive influence. Not just musically, but visually as well. That whole the whole presentation, and what a huge hole there is now.
I mean, what a remarkable composer as well. I mean, just in terms, I think one of the things I've got about like progressive music is sometimes you hear people and they're using lots of techniques and they're transferring from different parts of a song. Whereas with Tim, you can hear that there's a line of composition. There's a line of, he's going somewhere. He's not going, I'll do this, we'll do that. He's going somewhere and he's going to get there. And, it's like, and that's hard. That's proper songwriting. And that's not,
And there was, you can hear that kind of, there's Robert Wyatt and there's all sorts of things in that compositional sort of, but there's also kind of like vaudeville and these old English sort of. There's so many kind of. It's so British, it's a really sort of unique. It's this kind of. I think only we're very, very good at doing. Just that sort of, I mean, even Lennon was and the Beatles. There's that sort of intrinsically odd.
The English eccentric,
English eccentric, but it was just slightly threatening as well, which was kind of, there was a little bit of menace in it, which made it different. I loved it.
I wish I didn't discover them until I met Carvis 11 years ago. When I came down, I moved to London, and I thought, funnily enough, people weren't waiting out for my Mahavishnu infused with jellyfish. So if I was trying to do it, so didn't seem to catch on. So it was all the Libertines and Razorlight and all that scene. So I sort of hung around with those sort of guys and all those bands. And by the time I discovered Carvis, I would have loved Cardiacs. I just didn't know it existed. And it's so. And I think there's, posthumously now, and obviously, after the split, I think they're much more popular now, than they were at the time, which is just tragic that people didn't know about them.
Well, they were kind of. It's amazing how I can't remember what band it was. It was something like there was everyone was at the some Rolling Stones gig, thinking that's rich because it was the Crawdaddy holds 500 people. At least 20,000 people seem to have gone to that gig.
Yeah,
so it's kind of that. It's kind of that. I think everyone. It's not that it was. They became very fashionable to be influenced.
Yeah.
Which is great, but it was. Remember those famous gigs where there was they supported Marillion, and fruit thrown at them and all kinds of things, and I suppose
it's a bit of a shock, isn't it? When they sort of, it's one of those bands. The first time you hear them, it's kind of I'm not quite sure what I'm seeing here. And then the second,
Simon had the boot. Simon, I don't know whether you can buy it, but he had the bootleg LP of the support tour, and they're getting heckled like you wouldn't believe, in between the songs, but they soldiered on. And it was that self-belief of just carrying on doing it. I remember there was the thing where the press picked up on, they thought that Sarah and Tim and Jim, sort of menage, but they just carried on, and the whole way doing it through the Alphabet Business concern, and it just the marketing was just genius,
I think it was just a case that not enough people heard it. I think it was because, and they all had to have jobs and they were busy with other stuff as well, and they were just massively ahead of their time, and they controlled all elements of their own media, didn't they? That was I think Tim would have done really well with YouTube. I think YouTube would have been a fantastic resource for him. I think that would have been, he was that guy, wasn't he? He was he was building sets in his garage, 30 years ago. He was that guy, and the technology's caught up with him now, and everybody's sort of working like that. But he was he wasn't that he just had those magical ideas, and that was, so cool.
See, Dave Grohl found out about them about a year ago, and he was going, "How did I not hear about these people?"
It's Elton John. You see, Elton John played him on his podcast.
No, really?
Elton John's a cardiac fan. But that's really sad because Tim. Well,
the frustrating thing is, there's often you get these bands that everyone's influenced by that never did anything, and I think they're unfortunately always going to be that band, aren't they? It's
the Nick Drake syndrome, I suppose. As soon as if you can't have something, it's sort of thing. But I was on a prog rock Facebook group this morning because I couldn't sleep. It was 4 a.m, and
that'll do it.
Yeah, I know. So I thought I'd really wind myself up. So I couldn't get back to sleep. And there was a guy, Dave Grohl said some passing comment about, that he couldn't, he'd like to make a prog rock album. And and something, all the prog fans started saying, he couldn't do that. Oh, no, he can do that. And I don't think a lot of people realise it's quite easy to make run-of-the-mill prog rock records if you've got the sounds and you've got, plenty of time, especially with, you can program stuff up and, it's very hard to write good songs like Dave Grohl obviously can.
You've got, with Taylor Hawkins, you've got the band are so capable of doing it.
Awesome.
But I think it'd be brilliant. I'd love a food prog album. Absolutely magnificent.
But the reception from some of these prog guys was just so, he can't do that. Oh, awful grunge man, can't do that. To write good songs like Foo Fighters, right? It's so hard, I remember they had a song in the top 40. They had inversions on the third in the root power chords as the opening riff, and I was like, that's I've not heard that before. That's really interesting, and it's just
But they do it. What I also love about him is that it's the humour. It's so they're so Dave is he's just such a cool. I don't know. I love Dave Grohl.
Me too. Yeah, he's awesome.
Dave Grohl fan, but just because it's all done with a little bit of a twinkle, and that's what's brilliant.
But I think the way obviously seeing you guys live, and the way we present things. So I think when you play live, you do it. You're not po-faced at all. You realise that there's a. You don't.
No, well, as I say to people, if you heard our music, you can't do that doing that playing the stuff that we do. So it's you've got to be realistic. It's prog rock, But your gigs are joyous, mate. They're really joyous and lovely, and I think you've created a lovely atmosphere that the people who go to your gigs really they come out of it with big smiles, and it's magical. Oh, good.
You should be really. And I think that's a thing that you can take from Cardiacs, where that joyousness of performance and community and all those things. I think that's magical.
Community. Man. I think community. That's a brilliant word. Actually, we try and do. It's one of the reasons why we're not a band that would do screens and have all that stuff going on, because it takes you. The people suddenly disappear on stage, and people. I always think that the gigs I've enjoyed the most, have been the ones where you're watching the players play, you're not looking at, you must be at home watching telly otherwise. If you've got the big screen. So it's kind of like, you want to watch, I don't know, you want to see the people. So I kind of have this thing of if people have paid to come and see you, so be there.
Yeah, man. I think there's definitely that's reflected in the people who come. I mean, your fan base is pretty devoted as well. I mean, it's a really great thing to see. No, lovely with it. they're lovely, you know. And it's just, I've had really good times at Frost concerts, and I know it's just, and as somebody who goes on to gigs and thinks, oh, I'll nick that, you know, because you go to see other bands, and that's the greatest mark of respect you can have for somebody. It's like, you know, seeing the way you've done it with the community aspect of it, and building the audience, and the way you gig's really clever as well, rather than going out and doing gigs all the time, doing like a small amount of gigs and then the odd fly in here and there. That's a much cleverer way of running it than constantly being out gigging, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of those things, and also your use of YouTube early on and building that up as well. I think that was really...
Yeah, that was... I didn't realise at the time that I was an early adopter.
Accidentally.
I had no idea. And it's just, I'm thinking, wow. So they were brilliant. And I would put them... But the thing is, the problem with them is they were recorded on these really shonky video cameras. The quality's so bad.
People bothered. I think what people enjoyed about those videos, and I enjoyed about watching, because this is around the time I got into the world of prog. So finding those videos, and it's like, oh, what's this Rosfest thing? Oh, right, yeah. Well, perhaps we could do it. And then we got to play Rosfest a few years later because I watched you guys do it. I thought, if they can do it, perhaps I wonder if we can find out who these Rosfest people are. And it's America.
Because again, it's that thing of people, and I'm the same. You know, I love behind the scenes videos and stuff.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
so much more interesting than the actual, you know, sometimes the film that you're supposed to be watching. And so I just wanted to kind of debunk that whole thing of because a lot, you know, I'm not. It's disingenuous to say a lot of the all prog band sites, but there were at that point there were quite a lot that were sort of. And there's a way to debunk it. Go, we're just like five blokes barely holding it together, really, and that's much more interesting to see the kind of dynamic of the humans than necessarily us all kind of scowling like that.
Yeah, but that's the thing, and you know, and also I think with like I say, with that community aspect, I think there's certainly that connection, because you had like the forum and stuff, and there was, you know, there's very much that thing early on. And I think, you know, when I first got into that world, there was no prog magazine, there was none of that, you know what I mean? There was a few bands that sort of I saw doing interviews like Big B Train, you guys, and I thought, oh, that's a format. I like that. That's, you know, and they're building it, and they're doing a limited amount of gigs, and they're really connected to their audience, and that format actually has been adopted. That's how YouTubers work now, isn't it? They basically they'll do a person appearance or a person, and you know, they built it from that. But I think ultimately, what matters is the records you've made, which are very, very strong. You know, it doesn't matter how you market them. It doesn't matter how you know.
I thought you were going to go, but you went very, very strong. I think you're going to go strange, which I suppose. Well, speaking about the loyalty thing, I mean, there was what's brilliant about the community of the fan base is they're very forgiving, because we have gone on quite a journey in between, you know, with each of these albums, and most people are still around, which is lovely and really sort of, you know, really comforting that people are.
You're actually progressive. You're a progressive band. You're not a progressive rock band.
Yeah, trying to be.
You're a band that, because every time you bring out a record, I always listen to it because I want to find out where you're going. I think, well, you know, I mean, this is it's a certain element of, you know, oh, what's he found this time?
yeah. Well, it is. It's, you know, you've got to. I don't necessarily listen to the same music I listened to 10 years ago. You know, let alone 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And you find new music all the time and think, oh, this is brilliant. I'm really excited by this. And you know, new technologies emerge and people make stuff that's interesting. And you naturally, as a musician, I think we do resonate to new influences. And you kind of think, well, I want to try do a bit of that. Well, that's interesting. And how does that work? And if we were still banging out Million Towns, I think we wouldn't be here still.
But in context, Million Town at the time was very ahead of the game, wasn't it? Because there was no one else bringing those elements and those production techniques within the world of prog. Because, I mean, I did listen to a lot of those records around that time, and I didn't really get it, to be honest, most of it. And but hearing Million Towns, like, oh, okay, I get this. I can hear Cornelius, I can hear Jellyfish, I can hear this proper songwriting, and I can also hear this really ambitious rock music, which I find exciting. But recreating Genesis records, what's the point of that? I mean,
yeah, I agree.
It's never going to be.
I've never used Mellotron on anything. I think maybe did once.
I love Mellotrons, but I can't.
Well, no, I do, but
I know what you mean.
I love it for what it is, but I wouldn't have it on it. Like what I'm doing at the moment is quite interesting. Is, you know, because I remember it was so unfashionable, the Mellotron, for ages.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing is I've substituted that with the Emulator 2, which is a big sampler from the 80s, which I've got over there. And what I'm using that as my mellotron. So like the string sounds in that, the vocal sounds, which at the moment are desperately unfashionable.
I bought that the other day on eBay.
Yes, come on. There we go. It's like it's and so that's my mellotron. So I'm using the emulator as my my tape playback machine because no one else is because
it's got the but it's got the I totally agree and I've got that and I put it through like a wobbly sort of wobble try and make it sound even more take the bit rate down even more and I love all those sounds because I think you're right, it's just different, isn't it? It's inspiring, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. And there's these sounds that people aren't using. So, as I say, don't get me wrong, I love the mellotron. The mellotron's brilliant, but but it kind of it's just so obvious to me to do to not do that. So it's this thing of like, see what's everyone else doing, but I'll do that. So
I can hear this.
It can be destructive sometimes.
No, well, I mean, I think like on the new album, you can hear there's the stuff where you've got the sort of vapor wavy sort of wobble keyboards, and that I've not heard that in context of any progressive. I haven't heard anyone else doing that yet. So I was like, oh, that's
that was. There's a guitarist guy called Bibio who he's absolutely brilliant. He's an English guy, but it's sort of like it's a bit like he makes music. It's sort of folk music. It's a bit like Trumpton.
Oh, that sounds interesting.
It's really, really good. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant. And all his guitar sounds are kind of on the wonk.
I love that sort of,
And it's just really, and it kind of like, at no point did I think, well, it's so, it's jarring. It just was interesting. So I sort of tried to apply that to the keyboards, and there are a couple of bits where it's all going.
No, I love it.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm with you on the way. It's great. Yeah. But there's that. I suppose Boards of Calendar were the first people I heard using old tape recorders to make it sound broken. And it was one of the things. Oh, is that all right? Are we allowed to do that? But I suppose it's become. You listen to a lot of the samples of modern hip hop and pop music. I mean, there's. They're using loads of those sort of sounds now, aren't they? And stuff, I mean, it's really weird with a lot of the sort of pop records. It's not something I particularly get excited about, but I listen to the production. It's bloody hell, this is a lot going on here, in terms of the actual harmonically, very little going on, but in terms of production, everything going on. It's like a radio play.
That's a brilliant way of saying it. That's a brilliant way. And this the other thing that's good about pop is certainly at the moment, and I'm trying to do more of this as well, is you can absolutely get a melody and a chord sense across just by having a bass line and a melody. You don't have to have all the chords.
Yeah.
We were a fine one to talk because day and age is just, we thought we were stripping it out, but actually it's actually really good. We're trying to strip more and more out as we go forwards because there's a skill in getting that emotion across just with that root note and that.
Yeah.
And that as a songwriter is an interesting challenge. So, it's kind of those, and pop is brilliant at that. There's so many songs that,
it's incredibly hard to do well. And like I say, going back to those guys in that prog forum, just like, I can knock out my visionary stuff. That's fine. I can do that. But to write a bass line with a beautiful melody that makes somebody cry, that's
and what's funny is people kind of tend to think it's the other way around. That the hard stuff is just do the shredding, and it's not. It's exactly as you say. It's you communicate an idea with two notes.
Okay, just to sort of finish up. So, what's the future for Frost? Where are you heading now? Where's you and John are writing again?
We are. We're kind of we. What are we doing? I mean, we sort of had a tentative. Well, not tentative. We had a writing session about a month ago. We came up with three ideas. It was different this time because we're under no time pressure, which is great. It's the first time. I know that sounds, everyone's going to go, oh my God, it's going to be 10 years. It's not that. But it's what happened last time is what we sort of said to the record label, right, we're doing it. They went, right, you've got till February. I was like, oh my God, okay. So this time we're doing it without kind of a time pressure. So which is good because it gives us a chance to sort of play around with different things. Style-wise, it's kind of, but I think because the albums are quite close together, or they will be, it's more of a continuation than a massive change at the moment. But it's early days. And
do you think that bands will move more towards? I mean, I can sort of, because obviously we couldn't get in a band practice and just write slow we normally do, so we've started swapping files and doing things from home, and I've loved that. Actually, I prefer it because we can make the arrangements more detailed. I think bands put out more content and more horrible word content, more records, and
on platforms.
Yeah, multi-platform content. We'll put out more material because they'll be able to work from home. And I think, if they're not gigging, they'll probably be writing. So you could have some. There's a million bedrooms with people writing concept albums at the moment. You can hear them whirring from here. But I think I always like that thing where I like bands that put singles out all the time. I like that momentum. I think that's really cool. I think that's a really exciting thing.
Yeah, I mean that's another really. I mean, me and John have had this conversation. In terms of albums, again, it's this. Is it a dated concept? Would we be better off putting out 12 singles over the course of a year?
Well, that's how all the hip hop guys work, and they put out a single every 6 weeks.
Yeah,
that's the current thing. They put a single every 6 weeks, and then they just bundle it all together as an album at the end, don't they? So it's kind of
quite interesting. It's quite because it keeps you out there, it keeps you in people's perception. I don't think necessarily it's whether it's actually healthy to vanish for 3 years and come back with 12 songs. Whether you should just, I don't know. It's interesting.
And if you can record at home, and especially if you've got drummers, you can use drummers who can record at their home as well. I love the idea of finishing something, going right. That's and then, you get feedback and then move on to the next thing. That's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, you can literally finish something and have it out the door 20 minutes later, and that's very exciting. I think that's really exciting. So a lot of time, there's sometimes this strategy from record companies that like we finished Day and Age in February. And it didn't come out till whenever it came out, like June, I think, because of the vinyl lead time. That was the big sort of thing for it. And sometimes it's difficult to kind of keep the momentum going. You kind of go, I've done it, and then you sort of do that a bit.
Yeah.
And then you're thinking, well, what do I do now? So it's kind of, I think we've talked about it a lot, and there's definitely something interesting in that idea of little and often rather than
and I think that sort of thing of the way the Beach Boys, Beatles thing in the 60s as well, with them constantly knocking things out. And I was looking at vinyl lead times, looking at like 9 months for. It's like, I don't want to wait 9 months and then before I can move on to the next thing. So the thing I get excited about is, I think a lot of people forget that the thing that's exciting about music is it's the trying new things and trying different methods and trying different things all the time. I think you can't go from making one record to another by trying to repeat the same process. You need to create a new process. And I think that thing of knocking out singles might force that excitement and force that arrangement, trying to make
I'm excited by that idea, Matt. I'm excited by that. That's actually
me too.
Yeah, I like that. You might have stumbled on something here.
All right, Jem. I'm gonna we'll finish it. Thank you so much, mate.
Pleasure.
It was lovely talking to you. So thanks, Jem. Much appreciated. I shall stop recording.